You lie awake again. The blanket has slipped to your knees, and the air is colder than it should be. Even the candle is tired, its flame dances low, then settles into stillness. Your breath fogs a little in the room. The walls don't answer. They've heard too many stories to care for yours just yet. Outside, someone sweeps a courtyard with a straw broom. You can't see them, but you can hear the dry scratch of bristle on stone. Each stroke sounds like time being erased gently, politely, forever. You wonder if you've been forgotten, or if you were ever known. Your mattress creaks. It is filled with straw, and one very bold mouse who keeps returning for the last crumb in your pocket. You shift, the silence shifts with you, somewhere not far, but never near a bell chimes once. It doesn't tell the hour, just the fact that it's passing, and you begin to wonder. What if something as simple as a mirror once held more value than a man like you? Not a gilded myth, but a real mirror, smooth, polished, backed with mercury that killed the men who made it. A mirror meant for palaces, for kings, for the kind of person who never had to ask permission to see their own face. What if your reflection in another century would have been illegal to own, not because of who you are, but because of what it cost to make it? Would you dare to look? Tell us, where are you listening from? Or what time does your night begin? You are standing in a long gallery, barefoot. The floors are colder than you expect. Polished slate, cleaned with vinegar and cloth. There's a smell of oil, not olive, but linseed rubbed into the frames of portraits and panels. It clings in the nose, faintly bitter. Your hands are tucked behind your back, not by choice, just by habit. You were taught that way. You are not to touch, not unless told. Before you, on a pedestal of dark walnut, sits a rectangle of something unspeakably bright. You blink, not because it's shining, but because it stares back. A mirror, not like the ones in the servants' quarters. Those are dull metal, bent from age, with a shadowy shine like water left in a cup overnight. This is different. This mirror is Venetian, glass backed with mercury, not silver. The surface is flawless, smooth enough to frighten, and the frame giltwood, carved with vines and hollow-eyed cherubs, mouths half open like they've just remembered a secret, or are about to tell one. You lean closer, your reflection leans too, but something is off. It isn't you, not quite. The lighting is too kind or too cruel. It makes your eyes look older. Mirrors like this, they didn't always exist. And when they first did, only kings and queens, popes and doges, even dared to own them. You think of Venice. You've never been, but the name is salty on your tongue, Venezia, like biting into a coin. In the 16th century, they say, Venetian mirrors were more valuable than gold, more than an estate, more than a man, especially a man like you. You glance at the guard standing by the column. His boots creak when he shifts his weight. He's bored, likely cold. He watches you like a person might watch a candle flicker, with interest but no urgency. Behind the mirror is a window, tall, narrow, shuttered from the outside. A breeze whistles through the cracks. It chills the sweat on your spine. Once, to make a mirror like this, a craftsman would risk death. The mercury quicksilver, they called it, poisoned the air in the workshops of Murano. Mouths bled. Minds unraveled. Hands shook so badly they could no longer etch the glass they once perfected. But still they made them, because kings demanded it, because beauty, once seen, cannot be unseen. You wonder, did the craftsmen ever see themselves in the finished product? Or did they avoid it, knowing what they'd given up? Somewhere far from here a bell tolls, not for you, but you feel it in your ribs. The mirror hasn't moved, but you have. You take one step forward. The air thickens, your reflection does too. You are not alone in the glass to your left, a flicker. Not real, a trick of light. But it stirs something in you, a memory, your grandmother's comb made of horn. Curved, with 3 teeth missing. She said a woman should never see her reflection by candlelight. It draws shadows forward. She whispered, and leaves you behind. You reach out. The guard coughs. You withdraw your hand. Behind the mirror's surface, past the mercury's silver bleed, you imagine hundreds of forgotten faces, noble women who never smiled, courtiers who fixed their collars before execution, painters who used the mirror not to admire but to copy. Self-portraits, judgments, your stomach growls, the sound embarrasses you. It should not hear where even the walls are painted with hungers, glory, approval, immortality, Venice again. You imagine the canals green and moody, the barges hauling crates of sand, twisted and scorched until it softened, then blown, spun, and hardened into fragile wealth. They kept their techniques secret for over a century. The Republic feared losing the monopoly. Mirror makers were forbidden to leave the island. Some were assassinated after they tried. A mirror could start wars. You think of your own face, what it would be worth, if painted on canvas. Not much. But if reflected in this, maybe more. Your back aches. You've been standing too long. The guard shifts again. His armor squeaks. So much for dignity. Somewhere beneath your feet, beneath the marble and stone, bones rest. Not metaphorically, literally, the palace was built over a crypt. Or so the tour guide said. You believe her. You feel it sometimes, that dense silence rising through the soles of your feet. It's a different kind of cold. And still, the mirror waits. You step closer again. There you are, fainter now, your outline soft, but you're not the only one. This time you do see something, a second figure, behind your shoulder. It's gone when you turn, just a trick of Mercury or memory. You once stole a shard of broken mirror from a refuse bin, used it to check your teeth. You kept it under your cot for 2 years, until a rat dragged it off, thinking it was food. It wasn't wrong. You were starving, too. What did it mean, then, to own a mirror, to be seen in full, to see yourself as kings saw themselves, framed in gold, unblinking? The mirror doesn't answer, but your skin prickles. A draft moves through the room. The shutters knock once. You could touch the glass now, just one finger, just to see if it's cold, but that wasn't even the worst part. You wait before the mirror, not because anyone asked you to, but because something in the silence feels aware it's not watching exactly. It's more like the room has paused for you, not kindly, just out of habit. The mirror is taller than you, narrow, hung with a thick cord from a hook in the plaster wall. The frame is Baroque, carved and curling, leaf upon leaf, gold leaf peeling at the corners. You remember someone once said, that frame alone could feed a village. They were right, but it wasn't the frame that made it valuable. It was the glass, a sheet of hand, blown Venetian glass, cooled and cut, then painted with mercury until it turned silver, poisoned silver, liquid breath trapped behind a solid face. You've read about it, the way mercury clings to the lungs. The way the mirror makers of Murano coughed blood before their hands began to tremble. They kept making them anyway, because a mirror was a treasure, more than a jewel, more than a child. It told you who you were, or who someone wanted you to be. In the 1500s, only Venice could make them, so Venice kept it secret. The mirror makers were locked to their island, not by chains but by death threats. Any craftsman who tried to leave was hunted down. Quietly, efficiently, the Republic protected its knowledge the way kings protected thrones. You wonder what it must have felt like to make something beautiful that you weren't allowed to own, to create a thing more valuable than your own life. The mirror reflects a low light now. The sky outside has turned that deep violet, blue that only happens just before real darkness. Oil lamps have been lit in the hall. Their glow leaks under the door. You're still alone in the room. The mirror doesn't shimmer. It doesn't shine. It waits, and so do you. You move a little closer. The stone beneath your feet is smooth, but old. Somewhere beneath this palace, you know, are tunnels once used to move bodies or secrets, now used for nothing but rats. Your breath fogs faintly on the glass, a thin white halo, like smoke without fire. You don't quite touch it, but your hand hovers, one finger extended, an inch from the surface. You've touched mirrors before, but never like this. This one feels like it might remember. There's dust at the edge of the frame, a single cobweb in the top corner. Even wealth forgets sometimes. Your own face looks pale, eyes shadowed, not tired exactly, but softened by distance. You almost don't recognize yourself, or maybe it's just the way the mirror tells it. They say the earliest mirrors were pools, still water. used by sorcerers and priests. You wonder what they saw their gods, or just their grief. Later, in Egypt, polished copper gave a vague shine, then obsidian, then bronze, but always a version of truth. Never the full thing, until Venice, until this. You blink again, the light shifts. Your face dissolves into blur. You could leave now, you've seen it, you've felt it. But something in you aches to stay. To understand why this object simple, flat, deadly once held the power to command armies. Because it did. There was once a king in France who ordered dozens of these mirrors to line a single hall. The Hall of Mirrors, they call it now, but then, it was a threat, a room of light to prove power, not wealth, no. Anyone can have gold, but to have reflection, to make the world see itself, just as you saw yourself. That was dominion, the mirror before you came from that time. Maybe not from Versailles, but from the same breath of history. Carried across cities by sill, crapped wagons, guarded, paid for in blood. You stare at your hands, they're dry, cracked from cold water and lime soap. But they've made things too, held things, lost things. Your hands are maps. They remember the dirt. You wonder, if you touched this mirror, would it touch back? There is a myth probably untrue that one mirror in Venice drove a man mad, not because it lied, but because it didn't. He saw himself as he truly was, and couldn't bear it. You don't believe in curses. Only in prices, but still, you haven't touched it. The candle on the sill has burned down. The flame gives a last curl, then slips into smoke. Darkness settles gently, like a shawl laid across your shoulders. The mirror dims, your face fades, but the feeling, the thin thread of history pulling at you remains. Tomorrow, someone else will come. They'll stand where you stood. They'll see themselves in the same glass. But they won't see what you saw, because something is changing. You feel it, but you don't know what it means yet. And that wasn't even the worst part. The door creaks behind you. You don't turn. Not yet. Not while your breath is still cooling on the mirror's face. The person at the door doesn't speak. You know that kind of silence, not ignorance, but reverence. They've been told not to interrupt. Your time is nearly up. You step back, one slow heel after the other, careful not to let your weight echo. In a place like this, even your footsteps feel borrowed. And just before the reflection fades, you see it. Not a face. Not a ghost, just movement, a shimmer along the edge, too quick for doubt, too soft for fear. You say nothing. What could you say? The mirror says nothing in return. You nod to the room out of some old instinct for manners, then leave. The corridor is colder. Stone blocks run along the floor like they've been worn thin by centuries of indecision. You walk toward the gallery exit, past tapestries faded to the color of old smoke, and still your fingers hum with something. Some memory, some weight, something just beyond understanding. Someone once died for that mirror, maybe more than one. You think of the man they whispered about, the one who broke the rules, the mirror maker who left Venice. He had a name. You don't remember it. No one does, but the story stays. He was a craftsman, a vetrio, one of the few allowed to handle mercury with bare hands. He knew how to blow glass into perfect sheets without air bubbles, how to grind the surface smooth with pumice and ash. He was valuable, and valuable men in those days belonged to the Republic. But he wanted more, or maybe he just wanted out. And so, one winter night, he packed a satchel with tools and powder and a sliver of drawn glass. Wrapped it in cloth, walked into the fog. He thought he could vanish. He was wrong. The Venetian state was watching. They sent men after him, not soldiers, assassins dressed as merchants. By the time he reached France, he had stopped speaking. By the time he reached Paris, he had stopped trusting. But he kept working. In a damp, rented room above a butcher shop, he made the first non-Venetian mirror. Not perfect, but clear. The kind of clarity that threatened an empire. And for that, they found him. He wasn't killed. No, that would have made him a martyr. He was erased. No name, no grave, no signature on the glass. But the mirror survived. They say it still hangs in a chateau somewhere, behind a dusty velvet curtain. No one looks at it now. Too many questions. You feel a strange warmth in your chest. Gratitude, maybe, or pity. A man made a thing of beauty and paid for it with silence. You reach the stairwell. The marble is cracked at the edges, soft with wear. Your hand trails along the rail, which is colder than the floor, colder than the mirror. You think again of how the mercury worked. It was painted on, layer by layer, behind the glass. It pooled and shimmered, binding to the surface until it looked like a second world. But mercury kills slowly, softly, the mirror. Makers knew this. They chose it anyway. Would you? You step outside. The air is damp, but not yet raining. The sky above you has lost all color. Not black, just the soft absence of light. Even the birds are done now. The palace behind you looms with its 1,000 shuttered windows. Each one once held a candle. Each one once watched someone vanish. You glance once more at the building, then lower your eyes. No one notices you leave, but you still walk like you're being followed. You pass under an archway where ivy claws at the stone. You pass a statue with no face left. You pass a door that leads to nowhere now. In your pocket, your fingers find a small thread of something. Not cloth, not paper. You pull it out. It's a hair, fine, pale, longer than your own. You don't remember how it got there, but you keep walking. Because the mirror is behind you now, and the story isn't. You keep walking, long after the palace vanishes behind the fog, long after your feet go numb, long after your mind stops inventing reasons to turn around. There's nothing in your pockets now, except a crumpled scrap of paper and that one pale hair. You twist it between your fingers. It vanishes into the wind. Maybe it was never real. You reach the end of the path. It's not a road, not really. Just crushed gravel, flattened by carriages that haven't passed this way in decades. The grass is reclaiming it now slowly like grief, and beyond it lies the river, wide, muddy, not rushing, just moving. A place where time doesn't matter and names don't stick. You sit on a rock worn smooth by centuries of waiting. The sky leans low above you, clouds like bruised linen, air full of peat and something older. The silence thickens. Only your breath reminds you that you're here. There's a story they used to tell in Bohemia, of a man who bought a mirror, not just any mirror, a silver glass, rare and forbidden. It had arrived from Venice by way of Prague, smuggled beneath bolts of velvet. He hung it above his writing desk. They say the glass never fogged, even in winter, even near the fire, but he stopped writing, stopped speaking, only sat staring into it for hours. His friends visited. They begged. He would only say it shows what was lost. Eventually the mirror was taken down. But no one could move it. The weight was unnatural. They say it took 6 men to carry it, and still it shattered, not loudly, just a quiet sigh of pressure, like the air itself exhaled. No one knows where the shards went. Some say they were buried with him. Some say they still turn up, one by one, in flea markets across Europe. A sliver here, a gleam there, glass that cuts too clean, reflections too clear. You never believed that story. Until the palace, until the mirror. Now you don't know. You look down at your own hands, the skin dry, faintly cracked from the chill. You rub your thumb over your palm, as if trying to read a line that's faded. Your hands are maps, but the landmarks are missing. The wind changes, and the air brings something new. Smoke. Not fire, not danger, just smoke. The kind that smells of brass and pine resin. The kind used in old workshops. The kind used to seal glass. You rise. Your knees protest not from age, but from the long ache of living. You follow the smoke, down a bank, over a crumbled wall, past a row of hedges that once knew symmetry, now lost to weeds and time. And there it is, the glass house, or what remains of it. A small stone building, mostly collapsed. One chimney still standing, as if out of stubborn pride. Charcoal dust clings to the sills. Inside, a bench scorched, splintered. A broken rod, some warped panes leaning against the wall like forgotten paintings. You step across the threshold. The floor is scattered with fragments, not sharp. Time has softened the edges. You pick one up. A sliver of something once perfect. It's not clear, not anymore, but if you angle it just right, your face returns. Bent, stretched, too close. You look away. There's a small, rusted box in the corner. Iron hinges, locked tight. You nudge it. Nothing moves, but the dust around it swirls in a way that suggests. Memory, you sit again. The stone beneath you is cold, but steadier than thought. You close your eyes. Somewhere in this place, someone once blew glass so fine it shimmered like breath. Someone once inhaled mercury, believing the trade was worth it. Someone once risked their soul to make another man feel powerful. And now there's only this silence, no mirror, no craftsman, no empire, just you. And the question that's been building since you left the gallery, what did they see? That was worth so much more than a life. You stay in the ruins longer than you planned. The light doesn't change, but the shadows do. They lengthen, stretch across the old glass house like forgotten hands. Your feet are curled beneath you. The rock beneath your thighs aches faintly, not painfully, but with the quiet weight of hours past. The air inside is still enough that you can hear your own breath over the ghostly crumble of ash and grit. A pigeon mutters somewhere above, nested in the chimney. You don't look up. There's something about the silence of broken places. It isn't absence, it's listening. The piece of glass still rests in your lap. It doesn't reflect anymore, not really. Just smudges of light and distortion. But it feels heavy in your hands, as if it remembers its origin. And you start to remember, too. Not your own memory, but something you read once, long ago. Maybe in a museum, or a borrowed book, pages loose and thumb, worn, a record from 1571, a letter, unfinished, found in a chest under a merchant's bed in Murano. They breathe the mercury in the morning. It began while the kilns still smoke. We have stopped asking how many more. They stop counting, too. You remember reading it in silence. You read it twice, the first time for meaning, the second time for apology. The men who made the mirrors never saw what happened to them. Not really. Their glass was boxed in velvet, sent across the Alps to kings who never knew their names. They weren't craftsmen to those men. They were shadows, useful, replaceable, erased, and yet the mirrors remain. You look around the glass house. You think of the hands that shaped this place, the mouths that tasted metal for the sake of beauty, the lungs that gave their last breath so a nobleman could fix his collar in perfect light. A small anger begins to rise in you, not rage, just the old kind, the kind that remembers. Your fingers tighten around the broken shard. You don't cut yourself, but you could, and then a noise, footsteps. Soft, dragging slightly, you freeze. You're not afraid, not yet. But your breath stills and your ears sharpen. One step, then another. Not leather shoes, not boots, sandals, perhaps even bare feet. You hear the crunch of grit. Then silence again. You slowly turn your head toward the doorway, what's left of it. A child, or something that could have been one once. They stand barely past the frame, half in light. Small frame, oversized coat. Eyes too wide, too calm. They say nothing. You blink. The shard slips from your lap and lands with a soft clink. The figure watches it fall, then looks back at you. You speak first. Your voice sounds strange in this place. Thicker, real. Are you lost? The child shrugs. Their hair is long and tangled. Their hands are blackened at the tips. You ask again, softer, do you live nearby? No answer, but they step inside. Not afraid, not curious, just. Present, their eyes scan the walls, the ceiling, the workbench, and finally the box in the corner. You watch as they walk to it. Their small fingers trace the rusted edge. It doesn't open. You say. They don't respond. Instead, they place a hand flat on the lid, close their eyes, and whisper something. You can't hear it, but it isn't for you. When they pull their hand back, a mark is left behind, faint, oily, like mercury breath on iron. You lean forward, but the child turns suddenly and walks out the way they came. No glance back, no sound of feet on stone, gone. You sit in stillness. You wait for your mind to catch up. It doesn't. Instead, your focus shifts back to the box. You rise. Your knees crack, and you walk to it, cautious now. You place your palm where the child's had rested, warm, not heat exactly, just not cold. You try the lid again. It shifts, only slightly. You take a breath, then pull. The hinges shriek, and then it opens. Inside, a bundle wrapped in oilcloth, tied in twine, worn so smooth it feels like silk. You unwrap it slowly. First, a strip of painted parchment too faded to read. Then, tools, old ones, not corroded. Not ruined, just waiting. A wooden paddle, a tiny curved blade, a sanded block of obsidian, and nestled between them a rod of glass, no longer than your hand, still intact. You lift it, clear, flawless. You hold it up toward the light that spills through the roof above, and it catches, just briefly, a shimmer, a flash, not from the surface, but from within, as if something had been trapped there, and had just now stirred. You lower it again. There is one more thing. Folded in the very bottom, behind the tools, lies a note, not in parchment, in linen paper, durable, intimate. You unfold it carefully. Written in ink long faded to sepia. I made this not for kings, not for gold, not even for legacy, but for the one who would find it after all mirrors lie. No signature, no date, only a single word beneath it, scratched hard into the fibers. Remember, you sit down again, this time not on stone. You sit on the floor among the dust and soot and memory. You hold the rod of glass in one hand, the note in the other. You don't know why, but something in you shifts. There is no one else here, and yet you feel seen, as if the room itself has been waiting for someone to witness. Not understand, just witness. There is power in that. You lie back slowly. The floor is cold. But not unkind, you rest the glass beside you. Close your eyes. The soot brushes your cheek. And you think, just before sleep begins to pull you down, what if this glass is the last mirror that remembers the truth? You don't know when sleep took you, but now you wake to a room that has not changed. The light has its filters indifferently now, cooler, more silver than gold. The air is motionless. The soot that clung to your coat has settled into your sleeves. You sit up slowly. Your spine cracks like a book reopening. The shard of glass still lies beside you. You reach for it. It's cold again, still flawless, still heavy in its silence, and the tool's still there. Still wrapped in purpose, you take the note again. I made this not for kings. You read it aloud this time. Your voice sounds smaller in the daylight. There's no sign of the child, no footprints, not even a smudge. You wonder if they were ever real, and then your eyes return to the tools, that smooth rod of glass, clearer than water, cooler than breath. You rise. Your knees remember the night, every stone and fold of air. But you rise anyway. The glass house seems less broken now, not because it's repaired, but because it has accepted you. That's what some places do. They wait until you're soft enough to enter fully. You step toward the workbench. It's covered in dust years thick. You wipe it clear with your sleeve. The wood beneath still smells of smoke and lemon oil. There are scratches not random, not careless, measured, lines and arcs carved by the repetition of 1,000 mornings. You run your fingers along them, like braille, like a prayer. You place the glass rod on the bench. It doesn't roll, it waits, just like everything else here. You remember what you read once about the Venetian process? They called it specchio real, royal mirror. It began with fire, furnaces that never cooled, men in linen and wool, soaked through with sweat, lifting molten glass with long iron rods. They'd spin it, stretch it, flatten it against smooth stone with heartbeats in their ears. Then came the cooling, slow, days at a time. If it cooled too fast, the glass shattered. If it cooled too slow, it dulled. The margin between brilliance and failure was thinner than a single breath. You imagine them men whose names you'll never know arguing in dialect, laughing through cracked teeth, coughing into rags behind the furnace. They were called crystallary, but in truth they were alchemists, turning heat and air into something eternal and dying for it. Their bones lined the back alleys of Murano. Their lungs gave out before their apprentices finished learning their names, but the glass remained. You look again at the rod, and you wonder, was this made by one of them, a craftsman who slipped past the borders, or a descendant someone who carried the technique like a hidden psalm? There are no markings, no seals, only that glow from within, faint like a coal under ash. You pick it up again. Something shifts in your chest, something wordless, old. You whisper without meaning to. What do you remember? Of course it doesn't answer, but the light through the hole in the ceiling strikes it just right, and suddenly a faint circle appears on the far wall. Not a reflection, a projection. You freeze, move it slowly. The circle wavers, then sharpens. It's a face, no, not a full one, just the suggestion. A cheekbone, a half smile, a single brow, etched into the core of the glass, invisible until now. You hold your breath. The image fades with the angle. You shift again. It returns, different this time. A hand, open, palm out, like someone asking to be remembered. You set it down. This isn't just glass, it's memory, fixed, trapped, waiting. You step back from the bench. The cold of the stone floor creeps through your shoes. Your hands are trembling now, not from fear, from recognition. You've felt this before, not in palaces, not in books, but in small moments. The click of a shutter, the scratch of a pencil, the hush of someone telling you a secret, just before they forget it themselves. This glass was not made for kings. It was made for this. You want to know more, who it was, why they did it, how they trapped light inside something so fragile. But the answers are long dead, and mirrors don't speak. They only show. You move to the doorway. The day outside has gone full gray, not stormy, just indifferent. You breathe it in, cool wind, burnt leaves somewhere in the distance. The mirror. Makers of Murano were told one thing above all: never reveal the method. Secrets were wealth, secrets were survival. The Republic guarded them with blades. But you think now maybe one of them broke that vow. Not for gold, not for fame, but to keep something alive. You wonder how much of history was preserved like this, not in books, but in hidden objects, buried beneath soot, passed through hands like yours, things that remembered long after people forgot. You reach into your coat, pull out the shard you first found here, hold it again to the light. Your reflection flickers, and for a moment, only a moment, you see someone else, not beside you, not behind you, in you, eyes softer, mouth less guarded. You blink, it's gone, but the feeling remains. You aren't alone, not in this. Not anymore. You leave the glass house slowly, step by step. The ground outside is damp now. The moss gives a little beneath your heel. You carry nothing in your hands, but you carry something now, something unnamed. You turn one last time, look back. The roof is broken, the walls slumped, but it stands still, patient, like it's waiting for the next person, the next breath, the next hand to find what's been hidden for too long. You walk toward the road. There's no destination, only the weight of knowing that somewhere, long ago, a mirror cost more than a man. But the man left more than a mirror behind. You walk until your legs ache. Not all at once, just slowly, the kind of ache that arrives like dusk. Not sudden, just steady. The road turns softer here, packed earth instead of stone. It remembers the weight of carts, of hooves, of bare feet from long ago. You wonder how many walked this path and never turned back. The fields to your left are empty now, stalks stripped, crows fat and drowsy on the fence posts. A scarecrow leans forward as if whispering a final confession into the wind. You pass it without breaking stride. It begins to rain, not a storm, just the kind of rain that never stops. Thin needles, barely visible, cold enough to remind you that time is still moving. You pull your coat tighter. Wool sticks to your neck. The shard of mirror presses faintly through the lining of your pocket. You think of the glass rod still in the ruins behind you. You left it there, not because you didn't want it, but because some things are heavier when carried. It didn't feel like an ending, just a transfer. You saw, you understood. Now someone else will, or not. You find shelter near a small chapel, abandoned, half-roofed. The door hangs open, swollen with rain and years. Inside, stillness, mildew, wax, a rotted bench, one rusted candlestick shaped like a saint. You sit in the last dry corner. Your knees pull up on their own. Old habit, child habit. You touch the shard again, rub your thumb along the edge, still unbroken, still yours. It's strange, you think, how glass can outlive skin, how something so easily shattered becomes the thing that stays. There's a name that keeps returning to you, You don't know if it's from a story or a list or a dream. Giovanni Bellini. No, that's not right. Giovanni della Specchi. Yes, that one. Not a real man, maybe. But the name appears in whispers. The man with the silver hands, they called him, not because of his skill, but because of the mercury. He worked the night shift in a Murano mirror house, preferred silence. Wore gloves at first, then stopped. Over time, the mercury sank into his skin. His fingers turned pale, then bright, then gray. He kept working, and eventually the glass began to change, not just clearer but deeper. Reflections showed not just faces, but moods. People would swear they saw themselves thinking in his mirrors. Giovanni was asked to make a gift for a duchess once. He spent 3 weeks alone, refused all visitors. When the mirror was delivered, she fainted, not from shock, but from recognition. It showed her as a child, standing barefoot on a stone floor, eating a stolen fig. There were no paintings of that memory. No servants left who could recall it. Only the mirror knew. No one understood how. They say Giovanni never explained, and when he died, lungs full of flame, fingers rigid and blue, his last breath fogged the final mirror he made. And did not fade. You don't know what part of the story is true, but sitting here now, with rain sliding off the roof in slow, perfect streams, you think you might understand him, the cost, the compulsion. The idea that some images matter more than air. You reach into your coat again, pull the shard from your pocket, hold it up. It doesn't show your face, not this time. It shows a hallway, long, narrow. Gold light. At the end of the hall a door. Your breath hitches. You lower the shard. Nothing there. Just your hand. You try again. Tilt. Angle. Light shifts. The hallway returns. Different angle this time. Closer. You feel your heart beating in your teeth. Somewhere you are being invited. You wrap the shard again in cloth. Not to protect it, to protect yourself. You step back out into the rain, let it soak you. Let it rinse away what can't be said aloud. And then you walk. You don't know where the hallway is, but your feet know how to follow. It begins with a slope, then a bend, then a village with no name. The buildings here lean inward like they're keeping secrets. Lanterns hang unlit. Cats move like ghosts across windowsills. You stop before an inn, no sign. Just a knotted rope over the door. You step inside. No bell, no one behind the counter, but the fire is lit, and someone expected you. You leave your coat on a hook. A woman appears from the back. She doesn't ask your name. She just says, upstairs, end of the hall. You nod. Say nothing. Your steps on the stairs are muffled by the wood softened with time. At the top, 5 doors, all closed. You know which one. You walk to the end, hand on the knob. Pause. You could turn back. Say it was all imagination, just glass and stories, but you don't. You open the door. Inside, darkness, not emptiness, just shadow. And at the far wall a mirror, tall, barely framed, leaning slightly forward as if listening. You step in, close the door behind you. The silence is full. You approach. This time your reflection comes easily. You see yourself, all of you. But behind you not the room, not the hallway, a different space. Stone floor, gold light, and footsteps. Someone is walking toward you. Their face is soft, familiar, yours, but not. Older, perhaps, or younger, or maybe just. Unbroken, they lift a hand, press it to the glass. You do the same. It's cold. And then the light shifts. The hallway disappears. You're alone again. But you're not empty. Something has settled in you. Some part of the mirror's history, its memory, its mercy, its cost has found a place in you. You lower your hand, the room is quiet, but you feel watched, not by eyes, by time, and you ask yourself how many mirrors still remember what people tried to forget. You sleep, or maybe you drift, it doesn't matter. Time loosens here like thread in warm water. The mirror stands silent across the room. You face it still, hand slowly dropping back to your side. There is no sound. No footsteps outside. No wind through the shutters. The silence is peculiar, not empty, not lonely. It feels intentional, like someone pressed pause on the world just to let you feel this moment fully. The wooden floor under your feet is uneven, soft in one corner, warped where moisture once crept in. But this one room has no dust. You notice it slowly. The shelves are bare but clean. The window ledge holds no cobwebs. Even the mirror's frame, dull as pewter, gleams faintly where the candlelight brushes it. And yet no one cleans here. You know that somehow, you're certain, this room is not kept clean. It chooses to be. You wonder what that means. Your back itches between the shoulder blades, from the cold, from the stillness, from the sense that your body doesn't belong here as much as your memory does. You walk to the window. Outside, nothing, just mist. Gray upon gray, no street, no sky, just the soft swirl of weather and breath. You touch the glass. It doesn't fog. Even your reflection is faint distant, like an old photograph someone tried to wash away. You turn back to the mirror, and for the first time, it feels closer. The frame hasn't moved. The glass is unchanged, but the distance between you and it has shrunk. Emotionally, somehow, your mind feels brushed. Not invaded, not startled, just seeing you approach, not to test it, not to question it, only to listen. You kneel. The floor presses through your knees. You place both hands on your thighs, still. Waiting, the mirror does not shimmer, but you feel it shift, not the glass, the air behind it. There's a space, you're certain of it, a hollow, a gap, a passage, a memory too large to reflect all at once. You close your eyes, and you hear it, breathing, not yours, not behind you, behind it, shallow, human, not afraid. Someone is on the other side, not trapped, not angry, just waiting. And as the breath continues, you remember something you read once not in a book, but in an old museum label. One of those glass, cased plaques no one ever reads fully. Early Venetian mirrors did not hang flat against walls. They were leaned forward slightly, believing that angels might whisper through the space behind them. You thought it was romantic nonsense at the time. Now you're not so sure. You open your eyes. The mirror reflects nothing now, just light, soft and forgiving. You reach for the shard in your pocket. You forgot you brought it up here, forgot how tightly you'd wrapped it in the linen. It's still warm from your body, still silent. You hold it near the large mirror. Nothing happens, but something settles, like alignment, like something remembering its place. You look into the mirror again, and this time it offers something back. A workshop, dimly lit, long benches, shelves of bottles, a single kiln glowing in the distance, coals breathing like sleeping wolves, and a man. You can't see his face. He moves slowly, wiping glass with a cloth soaked in oil. He stops, looks toward you, but not in surprise, in recognition. And you remember now. This was the face from before in the flicker of the glass rod. This is the man who hid the tools, the one whose hands shaped the breath you carry in your pocket. His coat is torn, his sleeves soaked to the elbows, but he smiles, not widely, just enough to mean something. He raises a finger slowly, gently, and draws a symbol on the air in front of him. You blink, the mirror dulls only your face again. Alone, you step back. Let the shard fall back into your pocket, sit on the bed. The mattress is thin, but softer than stone. Your boots drip faintly on the wood, and slowly your breath evens. The image is gone, but the symbol remains in your mind. A circle, within it a dot. You've seen it before. Sol, the alchemical symbol for the sun, the source of light, the giver of truth, the destroyer of shadows. You reach for your bag. You flip through your notebook, find the sketch you made from the carved wood frame in the palace gallery, that first mirror, the one you stood before in silence. In the topmost vine, almost invisible, a circle, within it a dot. You missed it before. You flip pages, back to your notes on Giovanni della Specchi. A scribbled margin from a lecture you barely attended. Signature unknown, often marked pieces with subtle sol glyph. Hidden, burned into backing layer. Your heart slows, not from fear, but from that particular quiet that comes when something enormous aligns. This man, this craftsman, the one who burned his lungs for a vision, has been leaving breadcrumbs, for centuries. Across mirrors, no one questioned. Inside glass, that whispered memory. He wanted to be found, not for fame, for witness, and now you have seen him, not fully, not clearly, but enough. You lie down on the bed. The ceiling above you is cracked. Plaster has peeled back to the bones of wood. You see dust gathered in the corners. But not over the mirror, never the mirror. You turn your head toward it. The glass is still breathing, still listening. You wonder. Was it ever about reflection, or was the mirror always a door? You lie awake for a long time, not because you're restless, but because the silence here feels full, like someone is still in the room, not watching, just nearby. The mirror hasn't moved, but you feel it breathing. Or perhaps that's you trying not to. Eventually you sleep, and when you wake it's still dark, but different, a preed, on gray, the hour before the hour, where nothing stirs, even the candle on the nightstand, and hasn't been lit. But someone has placed matches beside it. You rise, slow. Every part of you creaks in a language you almost understand. You strike the match. Light, brief, gold, unsteady. You hold it to the candle. It catches. The flame is small but honest. The mirror blinks back to life. Not with an image, not with a trick. Just presence. You step toward it, and you begin to wonder how many mirrors in history weren't meant to show your face, but to hold your memory. How many have listened longer than they've reflected? You reach forward, fingertip to glass. It's warm, not hot, not from fire, but the kind of warmth found in stones that remember the sun. You whisper, "Who are you?" No answer. Just breathe, your own, and the feeling that someone hears it. You step back. The room seems unchanged, but the mirror no longer feels like furniture. It feels like a room inside a room, and something stirs within it. A shape faint, circular, then gone. You dress. Your coat is stiff from dried rain. Your boots heavier than last night. You leave the room quietly. No one is in the hall. No one on the stairs. The inn has emptied of voices. Downstairs, the hearth is dying. A few red coals blink sleepily. A note waits on the counter. No charge. Some debts are older than coin. No signature. You take your time leaving. Outside, the air is pale and sharp. The mist is lifting. For the first time in days, you can see the path ahead without doubt. And so you walk. Your feet know where to go. Your mind less so. But the mirror's echo lingers, that warmth. That breath, that impossible circle, the Saul glyph still drawn inside your memory like a soft brand. You remember something odd now. A line from an old travel diary French, 18th century. A mirror was taken to the colonies a gift from court, but was locked away after it showed more than reflection. Servants whispered of a face that returned each evening, even when no one stood before it. You remember laughing when you first read it. Now it doesn't feel so funny. You take a side road, the kind used only by carts and forgotten people. Along it, a crumbled estate, just stone bones now, a plaque out front, swallowed by moss. You brush it clean. Maison de l'Éclat, House of Brilliance, built 1621, destroyed by fire 1720, reclaimed by ivy, wind, and time. You feel a pull, as if something inside remembers you, not the other way around. You step through the remain. No roof, no doors, just wall stumps and silence, and there beyond a collapsed arch something familiar. A metal frame, twisted, charred, and a shape in the ground where glass once lay. A mirror, shattered long ago. But its absence remains. You kneel. The earth is soft, damp. You dig, with fingers more than hands. Not frantic, just steady. You find it sooner than you expect. A shard, smaller than the one in your coat, but unmistakable. You wipe it clean, hold it to the sky. It does not reflect you. It reflects light, but not as it should. It bends it. The clouds twist in its surface. The sun seems to warp, elongate, shiver. You turn it slowly, and a line appears, etched crude, barely visible, not Latin, not French, just 3 letters in a dialect you don't recognize. VER you freeze, because you've seen this before, not in a mirror. In a ledger, Venetian export lists forbidden items, smuggled out by traders during embargo. 3 mirrors marked with only 3 letters, V, E, R. Some claimed it stood for Venetian export regulation, but others knew better. It stood for veritas, truth. These were not standard mirrors. These were made for witnessing. You tuck the shard into your sleeve, stand again. The light shifts, and for a moment, just one breath, you see something in the charred wall. A faint outline, too precise for chance. A mirror's shadow, still lingering where the frame once stood. You touch it. It's cold, but not lifeless. You close your eyes, and the images return, not yours. Not the man in the workshop. Someone else, a woman seated, hands folded in her lap, eyes locked on her reflection. She does not blink. She waits. Then just before the vision fades, she lifts a hand to the glass and mouths a word. You can't hear it, but you feel it. It isn't your name, but it belongs to you now. You open your eyes, the wall is bare, the wind picks up, and yet in your pocket, in your sleeve, the mirror shards seem to hum. Not loudly, but enough. You walk on, past the ruin, past the moss, past the memory, and in your chest beneath the ribs, behind the breath, a question begins to root. Soft, heavy, unanswered. What if the mirror never showed the truth? Until you stopped looking at yourself. You walk until your breath feels like thread, long, thin, invisible, holding you here, tethering you to the world in ways you no longer understand. The sun never truly arrives, just a pale smear above the trees. As if the sky changed its mind about being day, you follow a path that might once have been called a road. Now it's just suggestion patches of stone, grass trampled more than grown. The shard in your sleeve presses against your forearm. Its edge isn't sharp, but it still makes its presence known, like memory or guilt. You pass an orchard long abandoned, twisted trees, moss climbing their trunks. A few blackened apples cling to the highest branches, not out of defiance, just because they forgot to fall. You stop, not because you're tired, because the silence has thickened, again, the kind of silence that feels like it's listening. You look up, a house, hidden behind a low stone wall, half swallowed by ivy. Wooden shutters closed, no path leading in, the air around it feels quiet in a different way, preserved. You step closer, the gate is rusted open, you push it, it makes no sound, the front door is cracked, but not ajar. The lock is old, you test it and it gives no resistance, no protest, just surrender. You step inside, the smell hits you first. Dust, but not just any dust. Books, cloth, ash, mercury, the scent is faint. Dry, but unmistakable. The floorboards creak in long, slow vowels under your steps. This was once a study, or a drawing room, or a workshop dressed in finer clothes. On the left, a fireplace, cold and clean. Above it, a frame empty. The mirror is missing, or moved, or broken. You pause, look closer. There, along the inner edge of the frame, scratched just deep enough to survive polishing. Sol, circle, dot. You breathe, not deeply, just enough to prove you still can. This house belonged to someone who knew. You cross the room. A small desk sits under the window. Its surface is bare, but when you run your hand across it, you feel grooves. Etched letters, hidden beneath layers of time, you crouch. Use the light from the window to make them legible. A mirror is never empty. You whisper it aloud. The room seems to nod. Behind you, a stairway curls upward. You hesitate, but you already know you're going. Step by slow step you climb. Each footfall brings back the feeling of the palace steps, polished, cold. But these are worn, private, wood smoothed by the rhythm of one person's life. The door at the top is shut. You press your palm to it. It feels warm. You push. It opens without a sound. Inside, a single bed, a small trunk, a window with no curtain, and on the wall opposite the bed hung not as decoration, but like purpose a mirror. Not ornate, no gilding, just wood darkened by years. Simple, honest, you step toward it and stop, because this mirror doesn't reflect you. It shows the room exactly, the bed, the trunk, the window. But not you. You wave your hand. Nothing. You step to the side. Still nothing. You are invisible to this mirror. Your breath catches, and then the air thickens. You feel your skin tighten, because something else is visible. In the mirror, sitting on the bed, is a woman. Her back is to you. Shoulders thin, but not weak. Hands resting in her lap. She does not move. She is not in the room, only in the glass. You don't dare speak. You take another step forward. The woman tilts her head not toward you, but toward the window, and you see it now. A second mirror, not visible in the room, only in the reflection. Small, round, sitting on the trunk. She lifts it, looks into it, and she smiles soft, familiar. Then the large mirror clouds over. Your heart feels unsteady, not racing, just resisting something. You look behind you. The room remains empty. But the scent of mercury is stronger now. You move to the trunk, open it slowly. Inside, Papers, drawings, fragments of glass wrapped in muslin. Notes in different hands, different centuries, some in Latin, some in French, one in perfect, blocky Italian, and at the very bottom, folded and stained, a letter. To the one who finds this, the mirrors were not made to show. They were made to hold, to remember, to hide what history cannot carry. There's no name. Just that symbol again. Circle, dot, you hold the letter, close your eyes, and suddenly you remember a museum years ago. A dusty hall of objects no one wanted to look at. A cracked mirror in a plain wooden case. Label, unknown origin, recovered from a monastery fire, 1783. You remember leaning close. Your face appeared, but not alone. You blink now, back in the room, back in the present, if that's what this is. And you think maybe all these mirrors were part of something larger. A chain, a network, a language, not for beauty, but for survival. A way to pass memories forward through centuries, across wars, inside walls and museums, and in rooms and burn. Doubt estates. You sit on the bed, it creaks with the memory of her. You reach into your coat, take out both shards, one from the ruin, one from the glass house. You hold them together, and for just a moment, in there join a perfect circle. Complete, you do not know what it means, not yet. But you feel it forming, the memory, the signal, the quiet sentence being carried through the centuries, waiting for someone with ears soft enough to hear it. And just before you sleep sitting in a room with no dust, holding pieces of someone else's truth, you ask, without words, how many mirrors have seen too much, and stayed silent anyway? You sleep on the bed where she once sat, not beside her, not near her, but in the outline of her absence, and when you wake, the sun has not yet entered the room. The light is soft, pale like breath on old linen. Your body feels rested, but your mind is thick as if dreams took more than they gave. The mirror hangs quietly. You face it again, out of instinct more than desire. No reflection, just the room once more, and again the round mirror on the trunk. But the woman is gone. You rise. Your joints complain in a familiar language, one of age, yes, but also of having carried something invisible for too long. The trunk is open where you left it. Inside, the letters haven't moved, but they seem less cryptic now. There's a folded sheet tucked into the back, yellowed and thin as a pressed leaf. You unfold it. It's a diagram, not a blueprint, more like a constellation, dots, circles, mirrored loops, a notation system. Above it, scrawled in elegant but hurried script, every mirror has a match. You read it again. Not for clarity, for weight, because the sentence carries something heavier than it should. Your mind drifts back to the palace, the glass house, the ruins. Each place had its mirror, and each mirror felt incomplete until now. You step closer to the mirror on the wall, lift one of the shards, hold it just beneath the frame. The glass fogs, not with heat, with memory. Images flicker, too fast to capture. But you glimpse one clear enough to sting. A young man, barefoot, holding a bundle of cloth, his eyes searching, his hands trembling, and on the wall behind him a mirror, small, round, etched with a circle inside a dot. Then it fades. You lower the shard. The mirror goes still, and you know, without knowing how, that young man was the one who carved the Saul glyph into the frame downstairs. This house was his, or perhaps not owned, but kept. Because some people don't build homes to live in, they build them to hide things, to preserve. You glance back at the diagram. There are coordinates, not geographic, not quite, just a series of initials and distances. Like a code passed through time at the bottom, LS, 43 mirrors, still unpaired. You feel your breath catch. 43. You think of the palaces, the estates, the quiet museums and cracked wooden frames. How many mirrors have you passed in your life without noticing what they held? Not your face, not your features, but someone else's memory. Mirrors that were never meant to be looked into, only through. You wrap the shards again, fold the paper, tuck both into your coat. This room will not take offense at your leaving. It has seen many departures. It doesn't demand loyalty, only memory. Downstairs, the floor creaks differently now. As if it's learned your weight, you open the front door, mist again, not thick, just enough to remind you that time is passing gently. You walk back through the orchard. The trees sway like old men shifting in their sleep. You wonder as you walk, what happened to the woman, the one in the mirror, the one who smiled at the small round glass as if it held something worth forgiving. You reach the road again. Your feet hurt less now. Or maybe they've accepted that this is what walking through time feels like. Your coat is damp at the cuffs. You take the folded paper from your pocket, trace the initials. One pair stands out. S.C. Mirror removed, never recovered. You don't know what S.C. means, but you feel the pull in your chest, that familiar tug that has guided you from the beginning. You walk east. It takes most of the day. The landscape changes slowly, from orchard to wood, wood to plain, plain to village. By dusk you reach a crossroads with a stone pillar. It's old, the writing has worn away, but someone has etched new letters into the side. Scala Chiesa Stair Church. You follow the direction it points. A mile on, you see it the remains of a chapel built into the side of a hill. Stone steps descend beneath a collapsed bell tower. You don't rush. You descend carefully. Each step feels familiar, like someone else has taken them recently. Someone shaped like you at the base, a door half open, a wooden arch carved with a sun. The sol glyph again, you push the door, inside. Shadow, the kind that waits, not hides. You strike a match, light it against the wall. The flame flickers but holds. The room is circular. Benches rotted through, altar collapsed. But against the far wall upright, still clean a mirror, large, oval, framed in walnut, dark as oil, you approach. Your reflection appears, tired, steady, whole, and beside it in the mirror only another face. The woman again, but older now, not just aged, finished. She looks at you, not with sorrow, with expectation. You lift one of the shards, hold it beside the mirror, the glass shifts, your face vanishes, the chapel in the reflection changes. Clean, lit, alive, candles flickering, voices humming, and in the back of the room a table. Covered in glass, dozens of mirrors, all shapes, all sizes, each one marked, each one wrapped, each one paired with a name, and at the center, beneath a cloth, something tall, a final mirror, still veiled. The vision fades, you lower the shard, the room goes still again, but in your chest not silence, something new, something rising, not understanding, not clarity, purpose. And you ask yourself, as the candle burns lower, and the glass settles into silence once more, what if mirrors were never made to reflect us, but to remember what we've forgotten to carry? You remain in the chapel long after the vision fades. The mirror stands still across from you unchanged, yet it feels like something beneath the glass is slowly exhaling, relieved, perhaps, or simply letting go. Your knees ache from standing too long, so you sit. The bench beneath you is hollowed by centuries of waiting. It sighs as you settle. The candle sputters. You pinch the flame between finger and breath, then pocket the matchbox. Darkness returns, but it's no longer empty. Your fingers trace the shard inside your coat, smooth, familiar, almost warm now, as if your body has finally accepted its presence. You think of the final mirror, the one beneath the cloth. Seen only in the reflection, still veiled, you wonder why. What does it hold or protect? You recall a line scratched into a museum placard in Vienna, illegible until tilted under light. Some mirrors are not meant to be seen, only remembered. It made no sense to you then. Now it does. There are mirrors like that in history, hidden, removed, not because they were dangerous, but because they remembered things too clearly. You leave the chapel quietly, step back into the night air. Mist rises again, the kind that finds its way through every thread of your coat. You don't mind. The cold grounds you, reminds you you're still in a body, still carrying something. The stars are faint. But you make out a few. Orion's belt, the Pleiades, and they're barely a smear the faint arc of the Milky Way. You walk. The ground slopes downward now. Each step feels easier. The horizon opens up into a valley. You hear water, not loud, just the hush of a stream nearby. running quietly beside your path, as if following you. You pause, reach into your coat, hold out the shard to the night. The glass reflects nothing at first. Then flicker, a torch, a figure, a narrow staircase cut into stone, then gone. You blink, turn to the right, and see it. Not far tucked against a mossy hill, a carved arch of stone, overgrown, but still standing. You approach, it's not marked, but it feels watched or tended. You duck inside, the air turns colder, smoother. The walls are narrow, carved from the hill itself. Torch brackets line the sides, long unused. You strike another match, light one of the torches, it takes, dry pitch beneath the cloth. The flame glows orange, soft and kind. You move forward, stairs descend, each one worn at the center, so many feet before yours. Each one carrying purpose. The passage opens. You step into a chamber. It is not large, but it feels vast because the walls are mirrors, all of them, not hung grown into the space, set flush into stone. Lined perfectly, edge to edge, framed only by shadow, you step forward, no reflection, none of you, none of the torch, only dim shapes, faint outlines of people you cannot see directly. The room is filled with others, but only in the glass, and at the center a pedestal, upon it the final mirror, tall, oval, veiled in black cloth. You walk toward it. The torches around you do not flicker. The air does not shift. But something inside your chest does. Your heart is quieter, not slowed, not fast, just listening. You stop before the mirror. The veil is not dusty, not old. It has been placed recently. Your fingers hesitate. And then, softly, you lift it. The cloth falls in a slow breath to the floor. The mirror stands, perfect, polished to stillness. Your face appears, tired, weathered, softer around the eyes, and then her face beside yours, the woman from before. But this time she is not looking away. She is looking at you directly. Her eyes hold no accusation, only memory. You lift your hand. She does not mirror you. She lifts hers slowly, but to reach, not reflect. She places her hand where yours is not, off-center, as if she is not where you are, but near. A different room, a different mirror, a different moment. But your palms align through space and time. The glass does not chill. It warms, not like fire, like breath. Then her lips move, one word. You can't hear it, but you know it. Carrie. She smiles, not for you. Not at you, but with you. And then her image softens, fades. Only your face remains. Your hand drops, and something shifts in the chamber. Not loudly, just a quiet realignment, a presence pulling back. Like a tide leaving the shore, you fold the veil again, not out of obligation, but out of respect. Place it gently over the mirror. Step back. The room is silent again, but now it feels whole. You leave slowly. Torch in hand, steps lighter than before. You reach the night once more and look up. A single star now gleams at the top of the sky, unmoving, bright. You stand there, longer than you need to, and ask yourself gently, if every mirror holds a memory, what happens when no one remembers to look? You leave the mirror veiled, not to hide it, but to protect the room, to keep its silence unbroken. The torch dims as you ascend the stone passage. The air warms not by much, but enough to bring the outside back into reach. When you emerge, the mist has lifted. Morning, or something that pretends to be it. You squint toward the line of trees. They breathe gently, wind catching in their branches like whispered names. You realize, standing there, that the world has continued. While you held your hand to a mirror, the soil cooled, birds stirred, and the planet turned. But something inside you did not stay still. Your body feels the same, but your breath has changed weight. You walk. The road is less familiar now, though your feet trust it. They move with a kind of purpose that isn't yours alone, as if the path itself has borrowed your legs. Around mid-morning, you reach a crossroads. Two signs. One points to a city you don't recognize. The other is unmarked. Just an arrow carved into wood, faint as a scar. You follow the arrow. The way narrows. Brush gathers at your knees. No one has cleared this route in some time. Eventually, you see it. A stone house, sunk into the hill like a forgotten thought. Its roof has grown moss thick as velvet. A wooden door, bowed but intact. A bell hangs from a beam above, no rope, no ring. You knock. Once, twice. The door opens before the third. An old man stands there. His hair is gray, yes, but not soft. Sharp gray like steel that chose its color. His eyes are clearer than yours. He studies your face the way you study a language you haven't spoken in years. You open your mouth to speak. He raises a hand, turns, walks inside, you follow. The air smells of lemon oil, beeswax, iron, and mirrors. They're everywhere, hung at different angles, none identical. Some small, some round, some misshapen from age or warping. None of them reflect you. You realize this slowly. Each glass holds something, but not now. They show rooms that aren't this one, figures who aren't present. One shows a child sitting by a fire, holding a broken spoon. Another shows a man kneeling in prayer before a small, cracked basin. A woman leans against a doorframe in a third, smoking a long pipe. One eyebrow raised as if mid-question. The mirrors murmur, not aloud, just visually. They breathe history. The old man speaks, finally. You brought something. He says, not a question. You nod. You reach into your coat. Draw out the shard. He takes it without hesitation. He holds it up to the light, angles it, waits. Then, softly, he sighs. Veritas. He says, you nod again. His fingers turn the shard gently. Then, from a drawer behind him, he pulls a cloth black velvet and lays the shard inside. Do you know what it's for? He asks. You hesitate to remember. He nods once, but not just memory. He says, to carry weight, to hold things that shouldn't have been lost. You glance around the room. Each mirror holds a moment not grand, not gilded, just real. The pipes, smoker, the praying man, the quiet child, are they real? You ask, they were, he says, and now you ask, he shrugs, now they're remembered. He opens a second drawer, pulls out a thick, bound book, sets it before you. The spine cracks slightly, it's been read many times, but always gently. He turns the pages. Each one holds a sketch of a mirror, a face, a place. And beneath it, a sentence, a fragment, not history, not biography, just something a mirror once held. She always whistled when nervous. He forgave her, but never told her. They left on a Tuesday. The pages flutter beneath his hand like leaves caught in slow wind. These, he says softly, are the pieces we save. You ask, do you write them all? He laughs dry, warm. Some. Others were written long before me, others still. Arrive. He turns another page. Your breath stops. They're sketched simply, but unmistakably is the mirror from the chapel, and beside it, she waited until the last moment to speak, and even then, it wasn't her own name she said. You read it again. And you know it's true, even if you don't know how you know. You sit. The bench is low, hand carved. The old man places the shard inside a wooden case, marks something in a small ledger, then looks at you. Most people think mirrors are for vanity. He says they are. You glance up. He smiles, but not the way they think. He walks to a mirror in the corner. It's barely a hand's width tall, no frame. Just a sliver. He turns it toward you, and for the first time all day you see yourself, not tired, not broken, just softened, as if the glass has forgiven you for arriving late. You look away. The old man returns to his table, picks up a pen, writes a few words in a notebook, then says without looking up, somewhere a mirror is missing you. The room hums, not with sound, with presence, with the collective hush of people once seen, now seen again. You rise, he nods, does not offer farewell. The kind of goodbye that understands you'll return, or that someone else will take your place. You step outside, the light is fading, but the path is clear. You take it. The wind is back, not cold, just enough to make the trees murmur. You walk on. The hill rises behind you. The house disappears into the earth again. And in your pocket, though you didn't place it there, you find a note. Folded, plain paper, 7 words, when you forget, the mirror will wait. You stop walking, let that settle in your chest, and ask yourself as the light thins and the trees lean in, what would the world remember if every mirror told the truth? You walk on, not quickly, not with purpose, but with the kind of movement that carries something without needing to name it. The road narrows again. Grass crowds the edges. You smell earth, not mud that dry, papery scent that follows long memory. The note in your pocket weighs more than paper should. When you forget, the mirror will wait. You whisper it aloud once, to hear it from your own mouth. It lands like truth. Your boots scuff over gravel. Each sound is a soft punctuation. The trees don't answer. They've heard enough footsteps like yours. By late afternoon, the path leads you to a gate, iron, twisted, long since rusted open. Beyond it, a manor house, what's left of one. Half stone, half ash, the top floor is gone, like it was torn off by wind. And yet, something here remains intact. The air, it's not heavy, but it's held. You step through the gate. The courtyard is quiet. Soil where tiles once were, a single broken column lying like a giant's fallen arm. You walk to the entrance. The door has no hinges left, just leans, resigned, against the frame. You step over it. Inside, charred beams, crumbled plaster, walls with soot marks climbing like ivy. But at the center of the front hall, something untouched. A frame, still upright, still golden, still whole, a mirror. You approach slowly. The floor groans but doesn't give. You stop 2 paces away. The mirror is. Strange, it reflects you, but only you, not the room, not the soot, not the burnt ceiling, just you. Standing in stillness, breathing, changing, you step closer. Your breath fogs the glass for a moment, and then it clears, but something remains, not your face, something behind you, a child, or a small figure not moving, not threatening. Just watching, you turn, nothing there. You look back, still there, eyes wide, unblinking, calm. Then, the sound of wind, from the upper floor or where the upper floor used to be. You hear it pass through the rafters like a sigh through teeth. And suddenly the mirror changes, it darkens, not like clouded glass, like old film, sepia tones, faded color. You see a room full, warm, glowing, the same hall, but alive, candles, curtains, people moving. Laughing, holding flutes of something sparkling, and at the center, the mirror, where it always was. A woman stands before it. She's adjusting her earrings, smoothing her dress, mouthing words, silently practicing. Behind her, a servant brushes lint from a coat. And beyond them, the child, still, watching. You blink. The scene flickers, gone. The mirror returns to your reflection. Sweat at your brow. Moss on your boots. You step back, sit on the edge of a half-collapsed bench. Your chest is tight. Not fear, recognition. This place burned. Yes, you knew that the moment you saw the stone, but the mirror didn't. Why? You glance around the room. The scorch marks reach up to the edge of the frame and stop. The wall around it is clean, untouched, as if the flames bent around it. You stand again, move behind the mirror. The back is blackened, but not burned. The wood is solid, carved with something faint, barely legible in the gloom. You strike a match, read the word scratched into the upper corner. Testes, Latin. Witness, not owner, not truth, not even memory, just witness. You exhale slowly, because now you understand something you hadn't before. This mirror didn't reflect vanity. It watched and remembered. You sit again, and the stories begin to drift, not as images, as feelings. That woman, the one fixing her earrings. You feel her nervousness, her need for approval, her hope that anyone would say, "You were radiant tonight." You feel the servant's ache in his back, his tiredness, his unspoken plan to leave in the morning. You feel the child's hunger, not for food, for attention. All of it preserved in a pane of glass that cost more than a year's wages, because someone insisted that reflection meant ownership. But it never did. The mirror was only ever meant to hold. You look down. Your hands are shaking again. It's always like this. After the truth settles, the body trembles a little, letting go of what it didn't know it carried. You reach into your coat, not for the shard this time, for the cloth, wrapped packet given to you at the glass house. You unfold it slowly. There the sliver of glass etched with the Sol glyph. You hold it beside the standing mirror. Nothing happens at first, and then a glow, not light, just warmth. The air between the two pieces begins to pulse, gently, and the mirror shifts. Your reflection wavers, and someone else stands beside you. A man, eyes tired, hands ink-stained, he nods once, as if to say, yes, this is where it needed to go. Then he turns, walks backward not into the mirror, but through it, like the glass opened only for him. And he's gone. Your reflection returns, alone, but not abandoned. You place the shard on the ledge beneath the frame, a fitting offering, and as you stand to leave, your eye catches something in the corner of the mirror. A small line, scratched in near the bottom. You step closer. It reads, "Everything that burns leaves behind a shape." You stare at it, then at your own face, then at the house around you blackened, broken, still. And you think, what shape did you leave behind, that only a mirror would dare to remember? You leave the mirror behind, not because you want to, but because it feels complete. Some things aren't meant to be carried forever. Some are meant to be left standing, witnessing. The bench creaks behind you as you rise. The frame glows faintly in the dim light, as if exhaling. It no longer reflects. It remembers. You pass through the charred entryway, stepping again over the fallen door. Outside, the sky is thick with the color of iron. No birds, no wind, only your breath. You take the narrow path east. It's barely a trail, more suggestion than instruction. But you've learned to follow suggestions. They've brought you this far. As you walk, you pass an old milestone, a stone block, half swallowed by grass. It bears only a word, vetro, glass. Your pace slows, because that's not a direction, that's a warning. Or an invitation. The trees grow thicker, each one scarred with lichen and age. The wind returns not cold this time, but full, like someone whispering with their mouth closed. After an hour, the trees break. A valley opens below you, and there at the center a workshop. Low, wide, stone walls blackened at the base, chimney cold. You descend the path, boots heavy with dried mud. The ground flattens as you reach the door. It's unlocked, of course it is. The inside smells like heat that forgot itself. Ash, sweat, molten things. The kiln stands cold now, its mouth agape. A metal rod rests nearby, bent from too many firings. The workbench is covered in dust, but underneath outlines, the ghostly shapes left by tools removed carefully, recently. There are shelves lining the wall, some empty, some holding fragments curved, warped, bubbled. Failed glass, or maybe test glass. You pick up a piece. It's thick, like the bottom of an old bottle. But there's something inside, not a flaw, a fingerprint, pressed into the underside before it cooled. Frozen permanent, you hold it up to the light. Your own reflection passes through it distorted, rippling. It does not return your face. It carries it. You replace the fragment. In the corner, a low cabinet, latched but not locked. You open it. Inside, a journal, bound in black leather, warped from moisture. Its pages smell of ink, oil, smoke. You flip through. The handwriting changes 3 times. 3 glassmakers, 3 generations, perhaps. All writing to someone they never name. You stop on a page marked with a scrap of red ribbon. The mirror cracked today, not from pressure, not from heat, from the memory it refused to hold. You read it again. We told them the secret was in the silver. We lied. The secret is in the silence. You close the book, sit on the stool nearby. The room feels close, not crowded, listened to. You look up, in the rafters, a shape, flat, covered in cloth, not large, not showy, just waiting. You climb carefully. The ladder groans. You reach the beam, pull the cloth back. A mirror, not framed, just glass, rough at the edges, the kind of piece never meant for royalty. Made by hand, not for display, for keeping. You lift it. Dust falls. You climb down slowly, cradling it like memory. Back at the bench, you set it down. It does not reflect. You try again. Nothing. Then, slowly, it begins to cloud. Not fog, just thickness, like the surface of a deep lake, where something beneath stirs, and you see it. A man, young, sweating in front of the kiln. He is not shaping a vase, not blowing into a rod. He is standing before a mirror, this mirror speaking, not out loud, but into it. You watch, his lips move, but his hands remain still. Then he lifts a scrap of paper, places it against the surface. The mirror holds it, absorbs it, and the vision fades. You stare, the surface now smooth again, but your own reflection still absent. You touch the glass, it's warm, you whisper, "Who were you speaking to?" No answer. Only the faintest sound, paper shifting. You look behind the mirror, nothing. You lift it again, tilt it. Something inside shifts. You open the back, not a latch, just a slight gap in the wood. Inside, a folded scrap. You unfold it with careful hands. The ink is blurred, but one line remains legible. The truth was not in the glass. It was in the breath that made it. You sit. You hold the paper until it stops shaking. Then, carefully, you return it to its place. Slide the mirror back into the cabinet. You've learned enough to know. Not every truth is yours to carry. You rise, dust your coat, and before you leave the workshop, you write a single sentence in the back of the journal. Your own hand, your own breath. I saw what they left. I won't forget. Then you close the cover, step into the light. The wind greets you. Your boots scuff stone. You take the path back up the hill. And just before the trees close behind you, you glance once over your shoulder. The glassmaker's house remains still, but you feel it watching, not from the windows, from the walls, from the tools, from the breath still caught in the cool kiln. And you wonder, as you pass under the branches again, what else have we buried in fire, hoping glass would forget? The trees close behind you, soft branches brushing your shoulders, leaves flickering like candlelight. The path fades beneath your feet, but you keep walking not with direction, but with memory. You carry it now. Not the mirror, not the note, but the weight of glass that watched, of hands that shaped it with lungs full of fire, of a silence so deep it remembered everything. Your body aches differently now, not from travel, from holding, the kind of ache that comes not from miles walked, but truths touched, a quiet heaviness behind the ribs. You breathe through it. The forest thins again. Stone returns beneath your boots. You recognize it before you see it. An old Roman road, straight, unnatural, enduring. You follow it. Let its symmetry guide you for once. Everything else has been curved, bent, hidden. This path does not pretend. Midday comes and goes. The sun presses through the canopy in pale shafts, not enough to warm you, but enough to remind you the sky still exists. Eventually, the road bends, not dramatically, just enough to admit it wasn't always right. Beyond the bend, a wall, not ruined, maintained. You slow your pace. A gate sits open, beyond it an abbey, stone modest sun. Bleached a tower, a bell, a roof that hasn't collapsed. It is still alive. You cross the threshold. No guards, no signs, just a small plaque by the archway. Latin, worn smooth. You trace it with your thumb. Domus testium, house of witnesses. You do not knock, you enter. The air is cooler inside. Filtered, cleansed, stone corridors stretch like veins. You walk them without question. Each step echoes, but softly. Nothing here was built to be loud. Eventually, you find a cloister. 4 walls open to a square of garden. Lavender, sage, rosemary, everything that grows here was chosen for memory. You sit on the stone ledge, let your hands rest in your lap. A shadow moves across the far side. A figure, brown robes, bare feet. They approach slowly. You do not rise, they do not speak. They sit beside you, and after a long pause they ask, without turning, "Which one did you see?" You answer without hesitation, "The one that didn't burn." They nod. You wait. Eventually they speak again. Some say mirrors are like water. They reflect only what stands above them, but not all water is shallow. You look down at your hands, the skin rougher than before. Dirt in the creases. You ask quietly, "Do you remember them all?" The monk smiles, dryly, not unkindly, no, but they remember each other. They rise, motion for you to follow. You do. You pass through another corridor. Then down stone stairs, cold walls, the scent of dust and candle wax. They open a door inside a vault, lined not with gold, but with glass, not displayed, stored, wrapped in cloth, stacked, labeled with codes. Some cracked, some perfect. The monk gestures to one shelf. You step forward, there a mirror, oval, wood frame, unremarkable, but you recognize the glyph burned into its base. Sol, circle, dot. You reach out. The monk stops you gently. No touching. They say, some mirrors are listening. You draw your hand back. They nod toward a small table. One object sits upon it. Not a mirror, a bowl, dark metal, lined inside with slivers of glass sharp, clear, suspended in resin, collected shards. The monk says. You lean closer. Inside, faces, dozens of them, reflected in the curve of the glass. Not yours. Others, children, elders, a woman holding a comb, a man with a cracked tooth smiling, frozen in fragments. You feel your heart pull, and the monk says, each piece holds a part of someone who was never written down. This is their record. You whisper, do you keep names? They shake their head. Mirrors do not ask for names, only presence. You sit again. The vault is cool, dry, still, but not dead. You feel it breathing. You ask, why were they made? The monk tilts their head. Which, the mirrors? You nod. They pause, then, to watch, to hold, to carry what couldn't be spoken. They walk to the far wall, open a small drawer, remove a slip of paper, hand it to you, a name, a date, a location long forgotten. And beneath it, the day the light bent, she knew her son had died. No mirror, no photo, just that. A sentence saved. You ask, how many more are there? They close the drawer. Enough. You stand. Place the paper gently back, and the monk says, you don't have to remember everything. Just don't forget that it was real. You thank them. They bow shallow, tired. You exit the vault. The stone door closes behind you. The hall feels different now, not narrower, just held. You leave the abbey the way you entered. The air outside feels thicker, like stepping into the world after confession. And as you pass through the open gate, you pause, because there beside the arch someone has etched something new, not Latin, just a simple phrase, we were here, even if no one wrote it down. You trace the words, then turn back to the road. Your feet find the stones again, and your breath steadies, because for the first time in days, you feel you are not walking alone. You carry them, not like weight, like shadow, and you ask yourself, not for the first time, if no one writes your name, what mirror will remember you? You follow the road for hours. The stones are uneven now. Weather has worn away their certainty, like memory, softened by time, made gentler through forgetting. Your boots scuff moss. Dust, sometimes gravel. Your steps are not loud, but the world is quiet enough to hear them. You pass a tree split by lightning long ago. The burn still marks its black veins down the center, but it lives. It keeps growing. There's something in that. By late afternoon, a town appears in the distance. Modest, gray, roofed, built in the way northern towns are inward, facing narrow alleys, steep chimneys. You don't stop walking. The buildings rise around you without ceremony. Children run between houses. A man sharpens shears on a stone. Two women wash linens in silence. No one looks at you twice. You're neither welcome nor unwelcome. You simply are, and that's enough. A church tower rises at the center, not tall, just taller than the roofs around it. At the base of the tower, a clock, not working, its hands frozen at 3:41. No glass on the face, just rust and rain. You pause because beside it, tucked into the shadow of the stone, a narrow door. Painted green, it doesn't match the rest of the village. Too fine, too careful. You step closer. An iron handle, polished smooth by use. No sign, no symbol, but you've learned not to expect them. You knock once, twice, no answer. You try the handle, it turns. The door opens inward just enough to breathe. You step inside, at first, darkness, then your eyes adjust. It's a workshop, not large, not cramped, well, used, still, used. Wooden counters run along 3 walls, drawers half open, full of tools awls, hammers, glass cutters. And in the center, a table, upon it a mirror, round, plain, and cracked. The split runs from edge to edge, like a slow breath made permanent. You approach. The mirror reflects you fragmented, one eye larger. Your mouth pulled into an accidental smirk. You reach toward it. A voice behind you. Don't touch that one. You turn. An old woman stands in the doorway behind you, tying her apron. Her eyes are sharp. Not unkind, just observant. She steps inside, closes the door. You're not from here. She says. You nod. She doesn't wait for questions. Walks past you to the mirror, lifts it gently, places it into a wooden box lined with cloth. You saw one, didn't you? She asks. You pause. Then, more than one. She nods. I keep what's broken. That's my part in it. She moves to the wall, pulls a thin drawer open. Inside, dozens of shards. Some no bigger than your thumb, some shaped like petals. Each rests in a labeled compartment. She gestures. These came from across the continent. Old cities, burned churches, broken parlors. You step closer. Each shard has a code etched at the base. Some with names, some only numbers. You ask, do you pair them? She smiles, dry. Sometimes, when they let me. You watch as she picks up a shard and holds it to the light. It flickers, not with flame, with memory, a hand, a book, a tear on someone's cheek. Then gone, she replaces it. Some days, she says, I think they're waiting to be put back together. Other days, I think they're waiting for someone to understand why they broke. You glance again at the round mirror on the table. What about that one? She exhales. That one didn't break from falling. It broke from what it saw. You don't ask what. You already know enough. You walk the room. A cabinet in the corner catches your eye. Locked, 3 metal hinges, no label. The woman watches you. Those, she says, are the ones that refuse to forget. You tilt your head, meaning. She folds a cloth in her hands. Meaning even after they cracked, they kept showing the same thing, over and over, refusing to let go. You whisper, of what? She shrugs, depends who looked. She sets the cloth down, moves to a shelf behind her. Pulls out a book, hands it to you. You open it, not words, drawings, each page, a mirror, sketched carefully, and beneath it not a description, just a sentence. She opened the window, but no one returned. He hid the coin beneath the floorboard. They never saw the dog leave the garden. You flip through slowly, then stop. One page holds a mirror you recognize, rectangular, with a knot in the upper right of the frame. It's the one from the ruined palace, the one that didn't reflect. Below it, she smiled, and for the first time the mirror smiled back. You trace the line with your thumb. The woman watches you, then quietly. Do you know what they called these, before mirror? You look up. She answers her own question. Specula. Latin, from specere to look, she says, but also to watch. She lifts another shard from the drawer, holds it toward you. It reflects your eye, just your eye. Then a flicker, another, and another. A procession of eyes, some tired, some afraid. One with a teardrop on the lower lid. Then it settles back to you. You exhale. Your voice shakes slightly. Why do they still hold these things? She smiles, wry, understanding, because no one else wanted to. She tucks the shard back into its place, wipes her hands, and asks, what will you do with what you've seen? You don't answer. You don't know yet. She doesn't press. Instead, she reaches beneath the counter, pulls out a small envelope, hands it to you. For the next one, she says, you open it. Inside, a folded map, drawn by hand, a river, a village, a symbol in the lower corner, a mirror, cracked clean down the middle. You nod, place it in your coat. And as you leave, she says without looking up, when you get there, listen before you look. You step into the dusk, the clock still frozen at 3:41, but the air smells different, less like waiting, more like turning. The road pulls you forward again, and you wonder, as your boots find the stones, if a mirror sees everything. Does it ever wish to forget? You leave the village as the light fades. The green door closes behind you. The clock tower looms above, silent, still, its hands forever caught at 3:41, like a breath held too long. You follow the map the woman gave you. Your fingers know the folds now, creased like a letter someone meant to send and never did. The ink smudged in one corner, a raindrop, maybe, or a tear. The road leads down, always down, as if the world wants you to listen to what lies beneath it. You pass fields gone wild with lavender, thistle bones of past seasons. A barn half collapsed leans toward itself like an old man trying to remember. You walk until the air changes, not colder, wetter. The scent of water before the sound, moss, clay, stone washed thin, then the river, it appears suddenly, wide and slow, moving like sleep. A ferry dock juts into the water planks slick, a rope curled at its base. No ferryman, but a bell hangs nearby, tied with twine and patience. You ring it. The sound is small, but across the water a ripple answers. A man appears, boat low in the water, a black coat, no hat. He rows steadily, no rush, no greeting. The boat bumps the dock with a soft exhale. He nods, you step in. The boat smells of pitch and wool. You sit near the front. The river takes you. The oar dips soundlessly. The man does not speak. He rows as if he's been rowing all his life, but forgot why. You glance at the shoreline, shrubs, stones, a deer watching from the trees, and then, suddenly the ruins on the far bank. Not a castle, a villa maybe, 3 walls, a tiled floor open to sky. Columns toppled like tired dancers. The boat glides toward it. The man raises a hand, not to stop you, just to say, here. You step onto the muddy bank. He rows away without a word. You don't watch him go. The villa is waiting. You approach. A fig tree grows in the center courtyard. Its roots thick, ancient. Its leaves tremble without wind. Stone benches line the space. A cracked urn leans in the corner, and at the far end, a slab of polished marble set into the wall. You recognize it even before you see the faint frame carved into its surface. A mirror, but not glass. Stone. You blink, approach, the marble is smooth, so smooth it reflects light, and something more. You stand before it. Your face appears, dim, warped, then gone, replaced by a woman's hands holding a dish. Water swirls in it. She tilts it, and in the water not her face, a child's, not hers, yours, then gone. The stone dims. You reach out. The surface is warm, not like sunlight, like breath. A whisper rises in the air around you. Not a voice, not language, but remembrance. This place remembers. It was never grand, never royal, but it mattered. People once sang here, argued, died, and someone carved this mirror not to see themselves, but to make sure something stayed behind. You walk slowly around the courtyard. Near the fig tree, a stone bench holds a bundle. You unwrap it. A cloak, heavy, worn. Inside its folds a mirror shard, curved. You hold it to the marble mirror. The surface does not shift. Instead, the shard warms in your palm, and then slowly it fogs, not with steam, with memory. A man's back. He is washing his face in the river. He looks up. He sees someone. You, but not as you are, as you were. You drop the shard. It lands softly in the cloak. The vision vanishes. You sit. The sun begins to lower behind the hills. Light bends across the tiled floor. A tile near your boot is loose. You pry it up gently. Beneath it, a niche inside, a box not locked. You open it. Letters sealed in wax, each marked with a symbol, a mirror hand. Drawn, you lift one, break the seal. Inside, a note. Short, to whoever sees what we could not forgive us. We only had hands, not hindsight. You close the letter, place it back, wrap the shard again, place the cloak on the bench, let it remain. You walk back to the water. No boat, but the river moves gently, and in its reflection, the marble wall glows faintly like a lantern behind silk. You sit at the river's edge, dip your hand in. The current is soft, and you wonder, as your fingers drift, how many truths were washed down. River. Because no one built a mirror strong enough to hold them. You wait by the river until the light begins to change, not darkening, just turning sideways. Evening comes softly here, like someone slipping their hand into yours without asking. The boat does not return, but you knew it wouldn't. The river isn't a road anymore. It's a threshold. You rise, coat damp where it touched the grass. Climb the hill behind the villa, boots leaving prints in soft moss. At the top, a path, wider than you expect, paved with flattened stone and bracketed by columns, some standing, some collapsed sideways like they once leaned in to listen and were never righted. You follow it. The path narrows as it enters the town, not modern, not gone, just sleeping, a few shuttered windows, curtains that haven't moved in years, a door swinging on its hinge as though time knocked but no one opened. In the center, a tall building, rectangular, plain, no signs, but you know it's a library, even before you see the plaque, Archivum Orbis. The archive of the world. You pause at the threshold, then step inside. The scent wraps around you instantly. Old paper, beeswax, binding glue, silence dry and dense like pressed petals. You walk slowly through the main hall. Shelves stretch to the ceiling. Books too tall to read without ladders. Some bound in leather, others in canvas worn to fuzz. No one speaks, but there are people, reading, cataloging, dusting. They do not notice you, or pretend not to. You climb a spiral staircase. The second floor is dimmer. Smaller lamps, tighter aisles. You follow a narrow corridor to the back. There a door, unmarked. Only a faint groove where a handle once was. You press your palm to it. Nothing happens. Then a whisper of wind. It opens inward. Stone steps lead down. You descend. Each step groans softly under your weight. Not in protest, in memory. The air thickens. Candle lit. You reach the bottom. A small room. Octagonal. One mirror on each wall. None hang. They are part of the walls, cut into the stone itself. Each one reflects something different. Not you. Not this room. Elsewhere. A hallway lined with coats. A woman brushing crumbs from her lap. A man writing a letter he won't send. You move slowly from wall to wall. Your breath fogs faintly in the cold air. In the center of the room, a table upon it. A case, velvet, lined, open, empty, but the imprint is there. A mirror once rested here, oval, framed in wood. You know the shape. It's the one you've seen since the beginning, the final mirror, missing now. You circle the room once more. A soft scuff behind you. You turn. A figure stands near the stairs, not robed, not uniformed, just quiet. Their face is thin. Eyes deep, set, hands folded. They nod once, then gesture to the wall behind them. You hadn't noticed it before. One final panel, no mirror, just stone, but marked with the faint outline of a frame. They speak softly. It was taken. You nod. Where? They pause. Nowhere written, but we believe it still watches. You ask, why was it taken? They answer, because it wouldn't lie. You step closer to the panel, run your fingers over the groove. They continue. It showed things people weren't ready to see, not violence, just the quiet things. You understand, regret, grief, choices not made. Is it dangerous? You ask. The figure shakes their head. Not if you look, only if you refuse to. They hand you a folded slip of parchment. Inside, a name, a location. You recognize it. A city forgotten by maps. Mentioned once, centuries ago, in a merchant's log next to the words, where the mirror sleeps. You look back at the empty velvet case. It's not empty, it's waiting. You leave the archive quietly. Back into the night air. The stars are out now, but thin, spread wide. You sit beneath a fig tree. Let the wind move around your coat. The paper in your hand softens with the warmth of your fingers. You close your eyes. And think of the mirror, the one they hid, because it told the truth, gently, without permission. And you wonder, if a mirror tells the truth in silence, who hears it first, the one who looks, or the one reflected? You leave before dawn, the slip of parchment still warm from your pocket. Its name written in a hand you don't recognize, but trust anyway. A place not listed, erased, maybe, or never written in the first place. The road winds southeast. The hills begin to flatten. Birds stir in the hedges, just barely believing in morning. You pass ruins with no markers. Fences collapsed inward. Stones rearranged by sheep or time. By midday the sun has dulled. The sky is the color of linen left in ash water. You reach a ridge, below it, a valley, overgrown but not wild. Too even, shapes of streets, lines that shouldn't be there in a natural field. You descend, your boots slip in the wet soil. Grass presses against your knees. At the bottom, a square, no fountain, no statue, just a ring of stones, some upright, others sunk, and in the center, a door. Not upright, flat, set into the earth, a trapdoor, no lock, no writing, only a single mark burned into the wood, a small oval, surrounded by radiating lines, a mirror, or the sun, or both. You open it. The hinges protest softly, old but not unused. A stairwell leads down, cool air brushes your cheeks. You descend. The silence is whole, not broken even by your steps. You count them, 37, then a room. Small stone walls, no candles, but lit softly by something you don't see. And at the far side, the mirror, the final one, tall, frameless, resting against the wall like someone set it down mid-thought. It does not shine, it absorbs. You approach, it reflects nothing. Not your coat, not your eyes, just depth, then a shimmer, not movement, a shift. A room appears, not this one, but familiar, a hallway. Stone, a figure walking away. They look like you, but younger or older. You can't tell. Then another shimmer, a woman sitting on a windowsill, singing quietly, then gone. Then a child holding a broken comb. Then a man reading a letter aloud to no one. Then a mirror cracking, slowly. You take a breath. The mirror flickers again. This time, your face, but behind it all the others, faces you've seen. And ones you haven't, watching, not judging, not asking, just. There, you feel your knees begin to soften. You sit. The floor is cold, stone on bone. You rest your hands in your lap. The mirror shows you again. But now, your breath fogs the glass, only for a moment. Then a word appears, written not by hand, but from inside, stay. You don't move, not out of fear, out of reverence. Then slowly the word fades. Another takes its place. Look. You do, and for the first time you see something you hadn't seen before. The glass holds everything, every face, every silence, every forgotten name. It's not heavy. It's steady. You rise, step closer. Your reflection watches you calmly, then raises a hand, not to wave, to offer. An invitation. You press your palm to the glass. It's warm, and it gives, just slightly. Like skin, then your reflection speaks, but only with its mouth. No sound, just shape. You understand anyway. Remember me. Then, gone, the mirror empties. Only you remain, tired, softer, not alone. You step back, and the room exhales, as if you've passed a test you didn't know you were taking. You turn, climb the stairs again. The world outside is brighter now. Evening or early morning. Time feels misaligned. The valley stretches out. The grass nods in wind. You sit on the edge of the stones, and you understand something new. Mirrors don't store memory, they become it. You've walked through histories that weren't yours, carried fragments of strangers, seen faces that would never appear in books, and you wonder, if memory lives in glass, what will live in you? Would you like to continue to the final part 20 of this story? You said? Next ChatGPT said, certainly. Here is part 20, the final chapter of why a palace mirror was once worth more than you. This closing entry holds true to every part of your creative brief around 700 words immersive second. Person POV, historical and poetic pacing, grounded sensory details, emotional resonance, and a soft, open-ended conclusion that reflects the arc of the journey. Thank you for walking this long path. Here is where the story arrives, and also begins again. Part 20. The mirror that wasn't glass. You stay by the edge of the stones for a long time. No one comes. No voice calls you back. No page turns itself. The world is not waiting, but it's listening, and that's enough. The sky has tilted again, the kind of gray that feels permanent until it isn't. You rise slowly, knees murmuring protest. The weight in your limbs is different now, not heaviness, density, as if your body has learned how to carry memory, not as pain, as shape. You begin the walk back up the ridge. Grass presses against your boots. No wind now, only stillness, thick as velvet. You don't look behind you, not because you're afraid, because you no longer need to. You know what waits there, not a mirror, not a shrine, a truth, reflected once, now held. The road is longer than it was before, or maybe you're slower, but there's no urgency left in you. Only a calm sort of clarity, the kind that comes when a question stops needing an answer. You reach the fork near dusk. One path leads back toward the archive. The other curls west toward places you haven't named yet. You choose neither. You sit on a stone wall. Your breath is steady. Your hands rest on your thighs. You pull the parchment from your pocket, the one the monk gave you days ago. The ink has faded slightly, but the message is still there. Somewhere a mirror is missing you. You fold it again, place it beneath the stone at your feet. An offering, or maybe just proof that you were here. A rider passes on the road. He doesn't slow, doesn't speak, but his shadow stretches long beside yours, and for a moment it looks like two people sitting. You smile, dry, soft. Your knees pop when you stand again. Of course they do. You walk east now, into low sun, into new silence. There is no destination this time, no glass to find, no room to unlock. But everything has changed because you no longer need a mirror to see what was missing. You carry it now in your posture, in your questions, in the way you pause before speaking. Later days, maybe weeks, you reach a town you've never heard of. They're sweeping the square when you arrive. Children shouting names that don't belong to you. A woman stirring soup in the corner shop. You sit at a bench, watch. A man beside you reads a letter aloud to himself. Not performing, just remembering. He glances at you once, then hands you the letter. You don't rate it. You nod, fold it, place it gently into your coat, and he smiles like he's given you something important. He has you rise, wander into the narrow alleys. One door is open, laundry strung above it like prayer flags. Inside, a small mirror, framed in wood, cracked at the top. You lean in, expecting to see yourself. You don't. You see a man, seated in a room you recognize, the archive vault. He's writing something in a book. His lips move, and then he looks up at you. His eyes are tired, but kind. He mouths something. Thank you. Then he turns the page. And the mirror clears. You step back, close the door gently. It doesn't matter anymore where you go next, because something you couldn't name has changed. You are now part of the remembering, not the mirror. You, the person who looked, who listened, who didn't turn away when the glass didn't flatter. And you think, as the night settles and footsteps quiet, maybe the reason mirrors were once worth more than a person was because they held so many, and maybe now you do too.